Welcome once again as we close out the sixth consecutive week of sitting together, of tuning in together, of dropping in together into this endless spaciousness of our collective community of intentionality and caring, this love affair with life itself and with the profound equanimity and clarity that is accessible when we inhabit the space of our own awareness. And those of you, of course, who've been coming for these past 6 weeks would not be coming back unless there was some kind of resonance within yourself that made, compelling to drop everything else that, is possible for us during the 24 hours and make yourself available, not to us, but to yourself. But as a contributor, by your virtual presence, and all puns intended, I guess, with that word virtual, by your virtual presence, contributing in ways that none of us will ever understand, but that I sense are really profoundly important, moving, and its own form of, let's call it transformative intelligence. So we've been calling this a mitigation retreat because those of us who have the luxury of tuning in because we're sequestering at home rather than being on the front lines, in an attempt to really damp down that exponential curve that we've talked about of the transmission of the virus. And now as we enter into a huge period of uncertainty and people chafing at the bit to get out there and to reclaim the normal life, the challenges in terms of the lethality of the virus to many, many, many of us is being weighed against, the virtues of getting out in parks and restaurants, and bars and stuff like that. And who knows what's going to really happen from here. So this is one of a retreat. Aside from a mitigation retreat, I guess we could call it a full catastrophe retreat. Full catastrophe mindfulness, the good, bad, and the ugly, all, in our faces at the moment. And perhaps because it's arisen, just the opportunity that humanity needs to actually wake up to what humanity really needs and instantiate it going forward when we finally put all the death and destruction behind us. So let's today just let me remind you that I've been suggesting that in the very moment that you wake up, that before jumping out of bed, that if it's at all possible, you just rest in bed and check and see if you're really awake. So we can do that now in the way that I might, do it in the morning. If you, didn't want to do a whole body scan, which I'm not even recommending, but, you can do a body scan with one in-breath and one out-breath. It's the same awareness. It's the same transformative, transcendent awareness that is here all the time anyway. So can you feel your body sitting here if you're sitting, or lying if you're lying? As if you were in bed, if you do this early in the morning, which I certainly hope you're getting into the habit of doing that, not just jumping out of bed, but taking a moment. Not even taking it, but just noticing that here too, this is the only moment, that we're ever alive in, is this in-breath and this out-breath. So can you feel your body as a whole, whatever posture you're in? Not think about your body, but feel the body. From the bottoms of your feet to the top of your head. From the tips of your fingers and thumbs right up to the armpits and shoulders. Eyes open is fine, eyes closed fine. Whatever gives you the vividness and a certain kind of stability of attention, of feeling your way into the body alive in this moment. And the mind awake to itself. And again, this can take as much time by the clock or as little time by the clock as you want, because it's not about the clock. Every time you check your clock, and sometimes it's a good idea, especially during a pandemic, maybe just maybe you've had this experience feeling like, you know, time is out the window and we're just kind of either stuck here or whatever. But maybe you could cover up your clock altogether or your watch and just write now on it. So it's now again. And how is it in the body now, right now? And how do you know it? When you're not thinking about how it is in the body, but you're simply directly perceiving it through any and all of the senses that you have at your disposal that work all by themselves. You don't need to get involved, whoever you think you are. So, for instance, could we put our attention in our feet or into our feet, so to speak, so that we just, like you would tune to a television channel or a radio station, you're just feeling, hearing, sensing what's being broadcast from the feet. And amazingly, we can do both feet at the same time. And maybe have at least 70 or 80% of all of what's our awareness being preoccupied with whatever we're experiencing on the panel that's broadcasting sensations from the feet, our feet, what we stand on. And how important they are to us. So resting in an awareness of that's primarily tuning to the feet, attending to the sensory universe of the feet. And then let's play with switching to the hands. So we give 70 or 80% of our attention to the hands. It's not like the feet disappear or the rest of the body or what's on your mind, but we're learning to actually concentrate and focus the mind at will without striving, without forcing, but just listening to what's always here, the hands. And even if for some reason you're missing a part of your body, whether it's a hand or a leg, you can investigate whatever is here for you with open-hearted spaciousness and things just as they are. There's a lot to be learned, no matter what. And now let's play with letting 70 or 80% of our attention be on the left hand, excuse me, the left hand and the left foot. Just for fun, just being playful. What would that be like? Is it possible? And maybe the whole left side of the body, right up through the head. Not forcing, not striving, not attached to an end result, but just playing, investigating. And now let's switch to right foot and right hand. And then the whole side of the body. And then letting go of all that and just feeling the entirety of the body. From the envelope of the skin right down to hundreds of bones. And just feeling the entirety of the body, sitting here breathing, at home in itself, at home in this moment, with, for now, no place to go, nothing to do, nothing to fill up the time, or as we say sometimes in English, kill the time, kill time, amazingly. And no special effects, no special something that we're hoping to experience, and missing this insane specialness, extraordinary specialness, what we're already experiencing. Seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, proprioception, interoception, thought, motion. The multiverse of human life emerging moment by moment by moment, and at home itself. And befriending the actuality of experience. Even aversive experiences, even highly stressful experiences, even the hardest stuff that is coming up like nobody's business nowadays because of this pandemic. We're not fixing any of it. We're not any of it off. We're not prematurely contracting around it and taking a side. For now, we're simply here, fully awake, fully discerning, so that we don't get caught in dualisms of this and that, even if we have incredibly strong opinions. And even if we're right, of course, we always think we are. So for the remaining moments of this thing, simply resting in awareness itself. Those of you who have been with us for the past 6 weeks, maybe this is becoming more familiar territory to you. Maybe even those words at the beginning might not have meant anything. Rest in awareness. What the hell is he talking about? And maybe you're discovering this awareness that is never not present, never not ours, always available, although access to it certainly not always available when we cloud the mind or get to reactive, emotional, stressful situations and lose our minds. But in the very next moment, we can remember, and here we are again, we're back. So that maybe this can slowly, 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 all by itself, without any doing on our part, become more our go-to mode. Neuroscientists call our default mode. What we default to is wakefulness, is awareness itself. And we can take up residency here full time if you like. And then how about taking care of the food supply, whatever it is in your household, or the children, cooking, whatever it is that we're doing, when the doing has the potential to come out of being, which it, of course, always does. And that might be as good a definition of wisdom as any. Because the being dimension is, in some sense, profoundly trustworthy and profoundly ethical, because there's no you behind it cause trouble for at least a moment. Because you're already at home, so you don't need anything. You don't have to get carried away in selfing, more for me, or terrified loss. Those things are going to happen as part of life, and it is terrifying and it is frightening. And we don't have to lose our minds, betray our hearts, or harm our people out of our anger, out of our grief, out of whatever it is. So the meditation practice, just like love, just like this pandemic, just like don't know mind, is really shaping us and calling something out of us that's already in us, and that the world is starving for, and I would say perhaps dying for too. And we need children. This was said yesterday, to help us sometimes wake up what our generation is doing to their future. Wittingly or unwittingly, complicitly or implicitly. And so at home in awareness, like getting caught in anything I've said, in your own thought streams, in your own emotional activity, turbulence, weather patterns. For now, just boundless, spacious awareness, wakefulness itself, right, right now, silent, boundless, just this, just this. Now remember, since the beginning, that anything that I say during these guided meditations, they're just fingers pointing at universes with side. And anytime the pointing is annoying or that I'm talking too much or whatever arises in your own mind, it's not kind of a lethal problem. You can just tune me out. It's never about me anyway. Tune the words, tune out what they're pointing to, and simply be in your spirit. Rest in awareness. Underneath my words, side words, in this rest between two notes said. My aim, in some sense, in doing is that the 24 hours that each one of you and I have, it's meditation practice. And our awareness is available 24/7, basically. So whatever the commentary in the head is, what's coming out of my mouth or out of your head at other times of the day, that's not the meditation practice. Where the finger is pointing. If it's pointing towards, it's a sign saying New York City or San Francisco or Witness or Rome or Paris or Madrid or Beijing, anywhere else. You don't climb up at the sign and think you've gotten somewhere. Oh, where it's pointing. You look in this where it's pointing here. My words are simply meant to be reminders and pointers. And there's no moment in any of our lives that's not the absolute right moment. Bringing the full repertoire of our multiple intelligences, the full repertoire of our multiple intelligences to bear on the entirety and the beauty and the sorrow of whatever this moment brings. And I know that you all, virtually all of you already do this. Everything I say is more in the form of just, gentle reminders. Stay in the game. To trust in your own humanity, in your own ethical ground, even if it's against the grain, especially if it goes against the grain. That's really a sign that you're on the right path. To be true to yourself. When you come out empty space, fullness of what self really is, the mystery, the opportunity in it, especially in the light of the full connectedness of the full interconnectedness of all of us and everybody else, the entire use, in fact. Again, today, I won't ring any bells. I didn't ring any bells at the beginning. When you feel comfortable with it, if your eyes have been invited to open them and kind of recognize that there's beginning and there's no end to the real meditation. Nothing other than life itself. If you're awake to it, there's no way to go wrong. And as long as you don't act to cause harm out of greed, hatred, and delusion, or even if you do, if you catch yourself and restrain yourself and refrain and everything else, then, the curriculum is available and, the learning is inevitable if we're willing to pay attention. So I just want to bring up a theme that rose from some people that's today and then also in the small group that I happen to into about loneliness, because many of you are sequestering at home by yourself, and other than loneliness, even the whole question of human touch, human contact through touch, through physical touch was brought up. And I can't remember whether it was in the small group or in the big group that I happen to know because I researched it a long time ago. That the word touch is the longest entry in Oxford English Dictionary. It's even longer, more pages than the word love. And for very good reasons. And of course, we're touching each other's virtual face, but there's something about being able to hug your lover or parent or your child or your grandchild. And in the best of times, it's fantastic, but times in the worst of times when we can't because we're separated, it's a nightmare. It's a hell realm. And I want to acknowledge that, and that even being a hell realm, there are ways that it can become workable. It's not forever because nothing's forever. It's horrible. People dying and we can't even be with them when they're dying. So that's just beyond any kind of mitigating attempts to turn with that. Sometimes we just have to pull our hair and wail like the Greek choruses of old. That it's that level of tragedy. But for many of us, we can satisfy touch for whatever the is going to be by simply, as best we can, being in the other ways that touch means, which is not really always physical touch. We touch each other in an infinite number of ways. And we can feel it in this emergent, digital community and cyber. And so whether you're Zooming or FaceTiming with your grandchildren or your children or your lover or whatever, to be in touch as you can with yourself and the profound interconnectedness. And that about the sun and the moon and the stars and nature, the night sky and the day sky and the weather. There's so many different ways we can be in touch. And when we're in touch, there's a certain way in which we're in touch with ourselves, and that's a mystery. And we're also not alone, because our default mode from being mindfulness, being awareness, is first thing is, excuse me, when you inhabit this, is the inexorable, inevitable, undeniable interconnectedness of everything. And that it's all temporary, it's all permanent. So what our suffering will end. Everything ends. It's a constant change is a thing that we can rely recognize. Whatever it is, going to change. We don't know how long, but there's comfort in that. So I just wanted to say that, we have some agency here about being stuck in loneliness or turning the loneliness into aloneness and experiencing the profound interconnectedness and gift of solitude. Even if it's imposed on us and we didn't ask for it. There's a whole universe that is none other than what we've been practicing since day one. Especially when you ask yourself, who's meditating? Who's longing for something you don't have? Who doesn't have it? And who might find new ways to be in wise relationship with how profoundly connected we are in families, in work realm, with each other here, everywhere. So we're going to move right now into conversation, questions. Soren is here with us again. I think he will probably tell us that Taj is actually coming home today. So it's kind of like a celebratory moment in our community, because none of us have ever met Taj, and yet he's certainly with us in an extraordinary way. So
hopefully I'll get him to, hopefully I'll get him to just say hello at some point. He's a little shy.
That would be really sweet, but no pressure.
Yeah,
no pressure. Down the road, whatever.
For those of you who weren't here on that day, but he went in for emergency brain surgery. So he's 8. He went in on Tuesday night, and they were able to extract it, open his skull, and take out like a small orange-sized tumor. We don't know if it's malignant or not, but it appears at first signs to not be. So he does that for 6 hours, 6-hour surgery Tuesday night. And now in the US, it's Friday at 11:38 a.m. And
in California.
California time, yeah, magically. It's amazing what the world can do. So thank you for all your thoughts and prayers and kindness. And we're in our next phase of healing, but I'm really excited to have him back and have him through the surgery. And thank you for all your warm, loving thoughts and prayers. So much appreciated. So let's move on. Jon, the sound for me, just to let everybody know, we're continuing to work on why some days the sound comes across really clear and some days
Did it not today?
Today, at least on my side, there was some glitches. So we'll keep working on that.
Okay, and I'm expecting a new modem in the mail that should update things to some degree, but I don't know why the sound should be a problem at my end.
And it might have just been me, so you can chat if you had a great sound or not great sound, but just
wave your hand if the sound was really bad, and I'll just check for a moment. Oh, horrible. Oh, that's terrible.
I was hesitant to tell you, Jon.
Well, you know, everything's impermanent anyway, so it's not about what I've said.
Yeah, so just to let you know, we're figuring out, and some days it's crystal and some days it's less crystal clear, so we'll keep working on that. I want to bring in, I hope I pronounce your name right, Clementia. If you have a question or comment or something you want to share with Jon, welcome. You're on the screen, and you should be unmuted.
Thank you.
Yeah, if you want to tell us where you're calling from too, that'd be wonderful.
Oh, I'm calling from Aruba.
Aruba.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Yeah. I really want to say to Jon and Lauren and everybody else that I really appreciate all of you for what you do. And I have two questions. The first one is, in doing the body scan, how do you explain the body sensations, the tingling in the hands and in the feet? I'm just curious to know what is really happening inside the body, because I have a lot of those, and I'm just curious to know. That's the first question. And the second question is, when I scan through the room, I don't see many people of color in the room. So I'm wondering, has mindfulness not yet reached the African continent? Or I'm just curious, because a part of me wants to do what Jon asked us not to do as part of the attitude of mindfulness, but I just feel the need to go on the mountaintop and just shout it out loud, and I don't see many people. Yeah, if that makes sense.
Oh boy, does that make sense. So I'm so glad to speak with you. How do you pronounce your name?
Clementia.
Clementia. Beautiful. Yeah. Okay, from Aruba.
But I am originally from St. Lucia, but I live and work in Aruba.
Oh, St. Lucia. Okay, so that's where Derek Walcott is from.
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, first of all, let me take the second question first. The first one's about the sensations in the body. Let me take the one about, scanning and seeing there are very few people of color in this community. And I've mentioned that from time to time, and I feel sad about it. You said, well, I mean, is it that it hasn't gotten to Africa yet? It may be that you do need to follow your impulse and shout it from the mountaintop in your own way, in your own voice, because who wants to listen to some old white man from, the US? I mean, if you're a person of color, why would you bother wasting an hour listening to somebody like me? And I can only be me. So, of course, I have many colleagues who are people of color who I work with, who I love, who we teach together and so forth. But how this migrates from one community, which you could easily think of as a community of privilege and a certain kind of self-congratulatory sequestering, and get this out there in the world to the degree that it is universal and to the degree that it is healing and profoundly transformative to people who might benefit from integrating it into their own language, their own culture, their own ways of meditating. So one theme that I've been emphasizing from the very beginning is that there's no one right way to meditate. So African dance, as far as I'm concerned, is like a meditative form. How you are in relationship to the moving, that's something that is, you know, mindful embodiment. In So there are an infinite number of ways in which this could potentially not be imposed on a community that doesn't traditionally have meditative awareness, just the way white people in the US never did, but now do to a large degree. Well, that needs to come out of the roots of the people, whoever they are, who want to engage in this love affair, or like you, are here in a space where, you know, huge, you know, majority of the people, white people, and that hasn't kept, I've seen black faces on the gallery view. So there are some of you I know who are here, and I've seen you here multiple times. This is like, you know, a free invitation to like get on that mountaintop if you have that impulse, and shout it, dance it, play it, whatever speaks to you, because this is about being human. It's not about being white. It's not about being wealthy. It's not about being privileged. It's about waking up to the beauty and the incredible injustice in this world, multiple forms of injustice in this world that are in some sense institutionalized and normalized in ways that are really tragic and um, and dehumanizing. And I don't think, and I've been emphasizing this, that I do not think that we can afford anymore as a species on this planet to have that continue. And it sounds very idealistic to say that, or utopian. I don't think this has anything to do with utopia. This has to do with, uh, you know, the actuality of what's possible for us. Sometimes I put it in the sense of maybe we need to learn what it means to be truly human before we lose our humanity altogether. And that is, you know, because of digital technology and biotechnology, it's not, you know, some kind of fantasy of 1,000 years from now. It's like maybe 10 or 20 years from now that all those things will begin to impinge upon us in ways that are unthinkable and destroy our analog selves. Which brings me to the second point, which is your first question, which is about what is all this tingling going on in my hands and feet? Okay, what that is called is proprioception. And that is this uncanny capacity that we have, and we don't understand it at all from a neuroscience point of view, not totally, to be aware of uh, the body in particular ways. And we almost are never aware of the body in these ways. For instance, right now, can you see my hand?
Yes, I can.
I cannot see my hand except on the screen because I'm seeing the whole picture. But if we were in a room together, my hand is behind my head and I can't see it. But I know exactly where it is. I know exactly where it is. And if I close my eyes and feel it, how do I know where it is? Because the whole arm and hand and fingers and thumb are giving off, you could talk vibrations, sensations that my brain is detecting, and it's making a map of my whole body in space. And that map is in the brain. No one knows exactly how that happens, but there are multiple maps in the brain, and all of the billions of cells and trillions of synaptic connections in the brain somehow not only create the outer world where we see the trees and the sky and everything else, which is a miracle because what you're getting into your eyeballs is like upside down images in two eyeballs of the trees and the sky, or you on my video screen. And it creates a universe that's right side up where you're you and I'm me and I see you and you see me. It's like no one knows exactly how this is happening. Now, when you're in pain, if you have some kind of chronic condition, sometimes these maps can get dysregulated and you can have more sensation than you want to have. And that could be back pain or neck pain or head pain or whatever. And so mindfulness can actually help us regulate how we are in relationship to those uh, raw sensory inputs into the brain from the body, from the hands, from the feet, from everywhere, from the face. And so it becomes very valuable for aging when, you know, as we age, all sorts of things happen to us. If we have chronic back pain or chronic conditions of one kind or another, we don't want all these sensations. Well, we can learn through mindfulness how to, in some sense, be at home with unwanted sensations in ways that often the sensations is like tuning down the volume on them. So there's a lot that we still don't know, but the neuroscience of mindfulness is beginning to actually, and there are studies of like laboratory induced pain and chronic pain conditions, what goes on in the brain in meditators and non-meditators. So it's a kind of a domain of ongoing interest. But I am just thrilled, Clementia, that you got to voice what you voiced. And I would love to keep this conversation going. I hope it inspires other people to give voice to that whole question of why some communities are into mindfulness. If mindfulness is a middle class or upper middle class white experience, I myself want nothing to do with it. Okay, if it's not universal, I'm just not interested in it. I think we're kind of in the very early stages of a revolution of consciousness that will invite all sorts of different kinds of lineages and traditions, historical traditions, to contribute to a profound global renaissance uh, that will put the European Renaissance of 400 years ago into the shade. And I would say that the people of color, which is the majority of people in the world and in Africa and in Latin America and wherever, however you want to define people of color, this is like, you know, the sort of lifeblood of the Renaissance is that we all need to contribute what we already know, our own cultural wisdom, our own deep heartfulness. That's one of the reasons, like, I love Derek Walcott's work and Derek Walcott's poem, Love After Love, which I recited a number of days ago or weeks ago, I don't know. But, you know, there's an awful lot here that when we don't know about it, we're the ones that are ignorant. We're the ones that are suffering. So we need each other to help us grow out of our ignorance. Let me just.
I was just wondering if I could ask you another question.
Yeah, sure.
I have asked it already in the small group, but I'm curious to hear your perspective. It has to do with the intersectionality between Christianity, or in my case, I'm Roman Catholic, and mindfulness. I find a very good nexus between the two. It doesn't interfere with my faith at all. If at all, it complements it, it enhances it.
Yeah, yeah.
But my friends who are, I've tried to explain it, but I've not been able to. I'm trying not to take on the messianic role that you've often invite us not to adopt.
Yes, thank you for hearing that.
Yeah.
And taking it seriously.
I'm taking it seriously, but still, just for my own peace of mind. But I just want to hear it from you in terms of that it doesn't interfere at all, that it complements it. It's an enhancement. But again, I don't know how to articulate it. So
you might want to thank you again for that question. It's really beautiful and very, very important. You might want to, if you have not heard of him or familiar with his work, check out the work of Brother David Steindl-Rast, Steindl hyphen Rast, I believe, um, who is a Benedictine monk. He's in his mid-90s now. He does work, his main teaching is on gratitude. He and I have been in conversations together and plan on actually doing something together. We were going to do something together in Salzburg, Austria this June, but of course that got canceled. So we're working on doing something online. But there's no contradiction between Jesus's teaching and these, you know, meditative teachings that are really universal, but in mindfulness is particularly spoken of as the Buddhist, the heart of Buddhist meditation. But in the sense that, you know, I see them as different doors into the same room. And each doorway has its own beauty. I mean, the beauty of Roman Catholicism and the cathedrals and the caring for the poor and everything else. And of course, every tradition has its shadow side that you can point to. And, you know, sort of is the Buddhists in Myanmar who committed genocide on the Rohingya and forced them all out of the country. I mean, it was a horrible thing. These are Buddhists who practice non-harming, non-killing. That's like, so I think we need to find new ways of investigating whether we want to speak about love, whether we want to speak about gratitude, whether we want to speak about loving kindness or compassion, whether we want to speak about mindfulness or heartfulness. This is all elements of being human in the same way as, you know, is your left hand important or is your right hand important? That you need both hands. Is it your left eye or your right eye? Well, you know, these are all different aspects of human wisdom, and they have all have a shadow side. And what we need to do is recognize how easily any tradition can turn toxic and not abandon the beauty of the tradition, but actually breathe new life into it, so to speak, by virtue of actually living the teachings of Christ or of the Buddha or whatever. It's not about, I mean, it's the teachings that are always the most important, the embodied practices. And I'm agreeing with you. I don't think there's any contradiction whatsoever. But from the outside, it looks like meditating is kind of like a heathen kind of thing. And if you allow your mind to be totally spacious and open, then the devil's going to jump in and then you're going to be evil. But, you know, I would ask, well, yeah, where does that devil come from? You know, when we start to investigate, it turns out like, hey, maybe that devil is just thinking that doesn't know how to behave itself. And when we can bring other forms of intelligence to bear that have to do with who am I and why do I think I have the right to impose myself on others and be privileged in one way or another, or use force to harm other people to get my own way. These are all things that are at the absolute heart of what wisdom is all about, and compassion. Does that make any sense to you?
Yes, it does. It does make sense. It does. Thank you very much, and I wish you well.
Thank you, Clemente.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And keep us posted in the future. If we keep doing this stuff, let us know what you're doing on that score, okay? And whether we can be of any use or support.
Yeah, will
I
do.
love that.
Thank you. Thank you. Wish you well.
So John's magically at 40 minutes after the hour, your audio and video has been perfect to add to the
Well, let me just say, I had a wonderful guided meditation. I loved it myself, and I hope you did too, even if you couldn't hear a thing I was saying.
Yeah, we don't know. I do want to. It's 58 minutes after the hour. What would you prefer?
Yeah, let's just do what we usually do, and I'll let
Okay.
you sort of say whatever. We'll be back on Monday for next week, and as far as we know, for the foreseeable future. We really welcome your comments and thoughts about it, and we'll, sort of make sure we pay attention to them. I was deeply touched by being in my small group every time I've been in a small group. And yeah, there's something about this that I don't even understand, but it feels like it has a certain kind of authenticity to it that's undeniable, and it's not coming from any one of us, it's coming from all of us.
So we will continue next week. I will email everybody this weekend, but basically it's the same link we use this week to get onto Zoom. We'll use, let's see, the same link we use this week to get onto Zoom, we will use next week to get onto Zoom. And the same also schedule. So an hour after on Tuesdays and Thursdays for the small groups. And as Jon mentioned, if you haven't tried them yet, it's a really lovely way to connect with, people from all over the world that are here. So we look forward to seeing you. Hope you have a wonderful weekend. Any last words, Jon, before we say our goodbyes?
Just all best wishes to Taj and his mom and dad and to you. And sort of just, I just feel personally the poignancy of the fact that he's coming home in a few hours.
Yeah. Thank you.
How wonderful.
So I'm going to put everybody on, we're going to put everybody on gallery view, and you're going to be allowed to unmute yourself. So if you want to unmute yourself, say goodbye or hello in any language you choose, you can now do that now.
Mother's Day.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Thank you, Soren.
До свидания.
Thank you, Soren.
And out there.
À bientôt.
Everyone. See you next week.
Everyone.
Beehive. Health for your son, Soren.
Korean Thomas.
The vaccine we found.
Everyone.
Bye-bye. So much, Jon and Soren.
Better and better.
Thank you.
Everyone. Bye.
And good luck with your son.
You, everybody.
Bye. Be well.
All in my heart.
Feliz fin de semana.
Goodbye from Bermuda.
Bye.
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 Bye.